Welcome to the board meeting for June. It's almost going to say July. I guess we're ready to get to summer, but thank you all. We're going to start out with the call to order and a roll call, please.
Commissioner Ashworth.
Here.
Commissioner Banks.
Here.
Commissioner Hassler.
Here.
Commissioner Schwerin. Here.
Thank you all. If you wouldn't mind standing for a pledge of allegiance, we would appreciate that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming today. We appreciate that. We have a, as you can look around the crowd, you can see we have a very busy agenda recognizing a lot of people, thanking them for their service and acknowledging some additional people will be sworn in today. So thank you for what you have done or will do to protect our community. So thank you very much. Anything from an open discussion standpoint? We'll take silence as a no. So thank you very much. All right, we're going to move right into our swearing in. If we could ask Davenport and the gentlemen and ladies from our county counselor's office, we would appreciate if you would all come up together. So we will have one oath that we will all respond to, and then we've got messages to each one of the two groups on what that role looks like, if that's all right. So if you'd raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I am a citizen of the United States, that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States, the state of Missouri, and the charter and ordinances of St. Louis County, that I will faithfully adhere to the regulations provided in the rules and procedures for deputization as adopted by St. Louis County, and that I will faithfully demean myself as a deputized officer of the St. Louis County Police. So help me God. Thank you for swearing in. We appreciate your deputization. So Davenport, as a deputized officer of St. Louis County, you are restricted to the protection of persons and property at Lambert St. Louis International Airport. So thank you, sir. To those of you who are going to be in the deputization level for legal investigators, as legal investigators employed by the prosecuting attorney of St. Louis County, your authority is restricted to those duties and responsibilities assigned to you by the prosecuting attorney. Your duties and limitations are clearly outlined in Appendix E of the deputization manual. So thank you for what you all are continuing to do. And now as deputized, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Congratulations. All right. Why don't you come on up and shake our hand? That's what that was intended to be. Come shake our hand. Tell us. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Very, very much. Right, you're going the wrong way, didn't we? Thank you, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Sure.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Right.
Thank you again for your additional responsibilities in that deputization process. With that comes a lot more responsibility. So thank you. Chief, I think we're going to turn it over to you. You have some accommodations that you're trying to do?
Yes, sir, I do. Some accommodations, some promotions. We got standing room only for those that want to stand there. I don't know what they did with the seats, but glad you all are here. So we're going to start out with some promotions, and first one up. Chris. Lewis is a 21-year.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yes, sir, I do. So, my Jackie. Jackie saying the word. And I have my son here, my son Tony, Louis. Son Prue. And I have my siblings. Where's he at? He's dead up. Hey, he's a retired king. And my sister Christy, my sister Jessica. and Sue. Thank you all for being here. Oh. One. These are what, 11 years? Yes. 11 years.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Do you got any family here? Anybody that
Yes.
come to support?
My wife, Chrissy.
Chris, stand up.
Molly, Chrissy, and Gabby.
You know where you're going yet? No, you don't. Okay. Lieutenant Cox, you got to get on this, man. They don't know where you're going yet. Who's up? Catherine, how many years? 11?
Congratulations. Thank you.
Catherine, got any family here?
I have my husband and my 3 boys here.
Where they at? Sergeant, I'm sorry, Dave Seaback, 21 years. Come on up, David.
Congratulations. Congratulations. You look good.
David, got any family here? Grandpa Terry Roberts? There he is. Terry, stand up. "36 years. Thank you, sir. Last but not least, we got Sergeant Stanley Dooley. Stanley, you coming from where, SRU?
Yes, sir.
And you. Let's take a picture.
Congratulations, man.
Stan, I held you for last because I know you brought the entire family with you, right? So Want to introduce them all? You remember them all? Stand up, Pam.
All right, man.
Not as many as I thought you had. There you go.
Chief, is it not customary that the last person's significant other, spouse, whatever comes up and makes a speech? Pam, I think you're supposed to have. No.
Well, since you're up here now.
Oh, okay. As being a wife of a law enforcement officer, it is a tough job, but somebody has to do it. But thank you all for your services coming from me and all the other wives. And even though you're a sergeant, babe, I'm your captain.
And my mom and my big sister and my 1-year-old granddaughter just.
Pam, nicely handled.
No? Thank you all. Thank you. Leaders of this department, we appreciate the work you've done. There's a lot more work to be done, so congratulations. Who else I got there? Police Officer Timmy Laddie.
Thanks, Chief. Members of the board, some of the audience, I'd like to tell you about something that was pretty exciting. Our Regional Information and Intelligence Center broadcast a description of a jacking officers here. Tim Lally and Mike Pedroli are one of our great dynamic, which is really great. Kyle Embry is one of our great leaders. So they find the vehicle, initiate a traffic stop, vehicle flees. They end up getting in a pursuit. Vehicle later crashes. One of the things that's interesting about this is pursuit lasts approximately 24 minutes over the course of 30 minutes. So if you do the math on that, that's a long time to stay focused and stay engaged. And they did a wonderful job. They apprehended the 2 suspects that both were very high bond issue. And really great, remarkable job by these officers. And
Well done.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for helping us.
Thank you.
so my dad is up there, John.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Chief Gregory, ladies and gentlemen. These officers were part of a crisis negotiation team on June 10th, 2021, when they were dispatched up to the Blanchett Memorial Bridge for a veteran who was wanted to jump off the bridge. They spent 5 hours with him, with the heat, distractions of traffic, to a successful conclusion, getting him off the bridge, getting him to medical treatment, seeing that he received additional medical treatment that he needed. So congratulations to you guys and good job.
Good seeing you again, too. Thank you.
Vice, thank you for saving lives. Very much so. Or I say we have to take a picture first.
That's our new family. Okay, okay.
All right, congratulations.
Members of the board, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, want to make you aware of a situation. Carl, Gary, responded to the 800 block of West Florissant. If you know this parking lot, if you've ever been up there, this is a nightclub. It's always very dynamic on the weekends. There's always a lot of activity. They responded to several officers responded for a call for shots fired. To get there, they were directed to a vehicle that had a sustained gunshot wound, kind of in an awkward spot. If you've ever put a tourniquet on, you'll know what I'm talking about. But they get a tourniquet rendered, I believe one of their own personal tourniquets, which says something too. They get the tourniquet fixed correctly. Victims transported to the Barnes Hospital, goes immediate surgery. Hospital staff notes specifically that due to the application of the tourniquet, the victim alive today, which is really, really great. They also added that the patient of it was very complex and very difficult to get the appropriate traction in order to get the for the. Great job by Carl. Great job by Gary. He's not here. Very great.
Great. Very well done.
Corey, any family here?
Absolutely. Paul right there, Tony and Chris Creamy.
Come on, stand there. Where are you? That's it? That's enough. Well, before I go any further and forget, I wanted to take a minute to introduce our former county executive. I forgot to do that. Mr. Charlie Dooley, would you please stand, sir? Ready? Service stars will be presented by Chairman.
Thank you. It's a privilege on behalf of all of us on the board and certainly for the department to recognize your years of service in protecting our community and the people within. So we will call a name, give a little description of it, and ask that you come up to receive your pin, if you wouldn't mind. From the Division of Special Operations, Lieutenant Colonel Troy Doyle, with 30 years of experience with us. In the Division of Criminal Investigation with 25 years of service protecting our community, Police Officer Thomas Taylor. Domestic violence, thank you for what you do very, very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Great. We should probably see.
With 20 years of service in Division of Patrol, Police Officer Bill Curry from the North County Precinct. Thank you very much. Saving lives, helping our communities.
Thank you so much for your service.
Also with 20 years of service in the Division of Operational Support, Police Officer Jason Dite in the Armory Division. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you very much. With 15 years in the Division of Patrol, Police Officer Nicholas Levy from North County. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Oh,
Congratulations.
my fault. Sticky fingers. Also with 15 years, Sergeant John Fuhrer from North County Precinct. It sounds like I mispronounced it. It's Fur.
Yes, sir.
All right, my apologies. Thank you.
you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
With 10 years of service on the Office of the Chief of Police, Mr. Jim Hallgren with 10 years of service, Technology Management Section. Familiar face. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Keep us all straight.
Need to do that. With 10 years of service in Division of Patrol, Police Officer Eric Roach, North in the Fenton Precinct.
Congratulations.
Also in the office, also in the Division of Patrol with 10 years, Police Officer Christopher Simon, in the Wildwood Precinct. Continuing with 10 years in Division of Criminal Investigation, Ms. Julie Cronable in that chemistry section.
Smarter than us.
Yes. Thank you so much for all of us. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
The chemistry section has some years of service here with additional with 10 years in criminal investigation in the chemistry section, Robert Conley.
Thank you.
Continuing with 10 years, also in the Division of Criminal Investigation, Ms. Sherry McGinnis in Police Crime Laboratory.
A little bit.
Love your video too. Yeah, it's very well done. Should I give it to you or one of the girls? Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Hey, girls.
Sure, dude.
Crying.
Great. Moving to 5 years in the Division of Patrol, Police Officer Paul Hughes of North County Precinct. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Also with 5 years in Divisional Special Operations, Police Officer Christopher Ming in the SRU. So done. Thank you. Appreciate it. Great to have you here. Look for another 50 or 60.
We'll be
years,
around
right?
for the next 30, right?
At least. Continuing with 5 years in Division of Operational Support in the Bureau of Security Services, SO Latasha LaRue. Latasha, great to see you this morning. Very, very much.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
Did we happen to miss anybody? We did. It was unintentional. Is there anyone that we missed? All right. So on behalf of all of us, thank you very much for choosing us as their place to have a career. And we are so grateful for your years of service and look forward to many more. Thank you all very, very much. Sir, we will turn it back to you for the chief's report. Yeah.
Hold on one second. We're going to ask people.
Anyone who is here to celebrate any type of award, accommodation, promotion, feel free to leave right now so you don't have to sit through the rest of it. Thank you very much for being here, supporting your officers. Thank you.
Sure. He knows how to clear the room.
Your idea. Your idea.
Oh, it's perfect.
Well, Michelle had told me. Michelle was the one who got it ordered. Right? I'm looking at it thinking,
They were.
I did.
You're right-hand lady.
Left side. Thank you very much.
Teamwork. That's not what I said. It's teamwork.
Yes, sir.
Love it.
Yeah, he's like that. Sat back. Oops. Because I thought, there you go. The team. Lesson learned. Right? Don't do that again. The word. She was awesome. Chief, nothing personal, but there were a lot of people here when we were talking. When you come out, all of a sudden it got boring.
We got 10 people left.
We got one down.
I know we have to be.
We'll get started. Mr. Chairman. We're going to start out with the, what we've done promotion. We're going to get into the budget and part of our succession planning. We have one of our fiscal service people here that she's going to give the budget report. Joyce is out nursing granddaughter, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Soon to be granddaughter. So Terry, show is all yours. Terry, how long you been with us? Just.
That's embarrassing.
That's embarrassing. Well, I've been here 42 years, so how does that make you feel? Feel better than?
Yeah,
So Terry, we have a question for you.
yes.
You can get started.
Don't.
You said 33 years, but.
32.
You said that, sorry, 32.
Yeah.
See, I'm even.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you said that with some body language, and we're not sure how to interpret.
My head's down.
You started when you were 12.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Been here since I was a baby. Feeling good. All right. And I'm going to start on the 2022 budget. We have a surplus of 59,000, but I want to point out that this includes the fuel shortage. And I spoke with Paul Kreidler, the budget director, this morning, and they are going to do an appropriation for all departments for the shortage. Excuse me. And I think it's probably going to be about $1 million, but they are not going to do it until 5 weeks before we run short, which will probably be in August, September, in the fall. And they're going to do all departments at the same time. So that should be $1 million or what they come up with. You know, at that time, it could be higher than that, unfortunately. So, and other shortages includes is the overtime, the retirement payouts, the vehicle maintenance, all very the same as last quarter. And then it also includes us paying for the CBA cost of the professional staff and then the non-CBA people, the supervisor pay. So that is it for 2022 and 2023. We just started. We just sent out the requests from everyone for them to fill out and complete for the 2023 budget. And that is due next door, like July 10th. So not very far away. So that is about it. No question.
Checking on the date, so July 10th, how's that coincide with our next board meeting? That's what we're.
Oh, got it. It's July 8th or 10th. It's 8th or 10th, which. Okay.
Questions?
Okay. I was going to run back.
Now we are. So our apologies, but
That's
we'll
okay.
keep it light on you so you don't worry too much. For the entire, make sure I understood it, the entire surplus across all spending categories is $59,000.
Mhm.
Talk about where we have the imbalance to a negative on the 4 or 5 things you mentioned, including overtime.
Mhm.
But we also understand that there's a significant positive on straight compensation for officers in total because we're just running a lot with fewer people.
Correct.
Do you know how much that
Just-
saving, how much below budget we are on that one?
I do not know. No. I can find out for you though.
Second question
Yeah.
is the timeline for 2023. You talked about when it starts.
Yeah.
When is that due again? Forgive me. It's first.
Oh, we just sent it out last week and we have it due back to us this Friday. But then as far as county government, it's due July 8th.
Due to the county government budget.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Sorry.
Thank you. And how long for them to turn it around?
They have all those meetings and stuff. It usually gets done in August, and then it goes to the counselor in the fall, the county council in the fall.
Sounds great.
So yeah, not until
And we'll
November.
direct this comment to you if you'll carry it back to Joyce and
Yeah.
Chief. We asked for a mid-year full update next month, but went through June.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. More
Thank
detailed
you.
update.
Okay.
You did great.
With the budget process, they normally go through a committee of the whole, which is about every department, submitting their budget, so they questions and answers that can be given to the council. So it'll take a while before they get to everybody, and they'll put us all in a time when they're to meet with us. Next up, Lieutenant Sheldon for Teneo. He's going to do crime stats.
Members of the board, good morning. All right, first we'll start, as we always do, with Teneo. So since our last meeting, our number of in progress have moved from 31 to 28, which means that 3 more were completed last month, moving the total completed of the recommendations from 48 to 51, and nothing declined. That stays the same at 17. The 3 that were completed, 2 are out of the Division of Patrol for coordinated strategies for the precinct captains to enhance community engagement, as well as neighborhood policing by precinct captains assignments. So those were both moved to completed, and obviously are ongoing efforts that the department has been doing for some time. The other one I kind of cheated on is to add the term citizen journalist to General Order 68. Which hopefully will be approved, and that will be completed today.
I have questions about that when we get there.
Sounds like a plan. Any other questions regarding Teneo?
Any other questions? Lieutenant, I have one. So once we implement any of them, right? We talked about 3 that we have now put in implementation. Do we have a process to validate how our performance is based on what we're doing? Not is it doing what we intended it to do when we implemented it?
Yeah, so I think a lot of these things are so new as far as completed. I mean, but I would put that back. So Teneo doesn't say that we need any type of follow-up, right? They just want us to hit the recommendation. So it's really on our department. And like myself, for instance, who has several Teneo recommendations just for my bureau, to make sure that those things are continuing to be, seen through. Same with, I think that most of the commanding officers would tell you, for instance, and I don't want to, again, I don't like to speak for these guys, but without dragging everybody up here, like Lieutenant Colonel Cox, obviously, who does a great job with the Division of Patrol and all of those precinct commanders, just to make sure that we maintain those sorts of things. But from Teneo's standpoint, they never, asked for any type of follow-up. That's incumbent upon us as a department to continue to do.
Yeah, thank you. My question wasn't for Teneo, it was for us. So some of them are
Absolutely.
right, come up with a policy, but some of them are, okay, we implemented this based on a recommendation, based on a best practice that Teneo gave us. Is it doing what it was supposed to do for us? Do we need to tweak it? Do we need to say, no, it's not doing anything, and therefore take the...
And some of those are, like I said, some of those are ongoing efforts, which we can evaluate. So for instance, if you were all to approve General Order 68, for now, that satisfies there's nothing further to do with that one. It's just pretty much etched in stone at that point.
Thank you.
Got it.
I think we'd probably like to see some sort of update at year end, knowing that it'll be, over a year, but perhaps close to a full year when a lot of these were done. So just an update on how we're doing toward validating whether they're doing what they're intended to do.
Yeah, that sounds good. I've got, and obviously it would take me a while to go through now, but for next month, I've got an entire list of everything that we've completed, what's in progress, where it's at, and things of that nature that we can delve into that for sure.
Thank you.
You got it. All right. So as we move on to crime statistics, obviously it says May up there because these would be January 1 through May 31st. So citizen complaint incidents stays at 75%. There's absolutely no change from last month there. Internal investigations actually is better for us. So last month we showed a change from 21 to 22 at 10%. It's now at negative 26%. Everything else pretty much holding steady. Our use of force incidents down from the previous year. Vehicle accidents and pursuits. And then the one that we have added, the failure to yields, is now up to 892 total for the year. The parentheses show 178 that occurred just in the month of May alone. Here's the heat map. Yep.
Before we move on, I had circled for citizen complaints, 3.
That's right.
That seems, of all of these changes, the most statistically significant. And I wonder, is it because we are just doing so fantastically as a department that everybody's happy with us?
Yes.
Or, I mean, I would like that to be the answer. Or is something else going on that we should at least be aware of or be thinking about as to why we've dropped off so drastically?
Yeah, so I can definitely have a conversation with the folks in professional standards. But I think it's a great thing for our department. Now, understand that there are people that still call in. It's not like there's only been 3 people for the entire year that have made those calls. But we have a lot better vetting process now, too, with the use of body cameras. So citizens will call in and make a complaint. And, and some of those don't even make it to the BPS level. Some of those are handled at the precinct level to where, we, again, have the luxury we didn't have a few years back to say, hey, let's take a look at what the officer's conduct was or things of that nature and understand very quickly that the way it was portrayed may have not been completely accurate.
So I think that's very valuable, and perhaps my understanding of what makes it to this chart, like what comprises those 3. Clearly it's not, we only received 3 phone calls between January and May.
Yeah, that they would warrant further investigation.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that there's a wrongdoing by the officer necessarily in those 3, but that there's enough, use the old adage where there's smoke, that we're going to investigate a little more. It's something that can't be placed to bed instantly.
So do you have any sense of the number of phone calls we're receiving from citizens?
I can find out. Obviously, that's all professional standards type of deal.
I think that would be interesting for us to know, comparing what made it to the incident level and how many phone calls we have received from citizens with, whatever concern, whether valid or not.
Sure. And to be fair too, if they make it there, I'm sure that those stats are kept. But for instance, as a watch commander in the 2nd precinct, as recently as about 8 months ago, there'd be times that I would go on calls with the men and women, and somebody would want to complain about something. We'd have a roadside conversation, understand that, hey, we actually did things the right way, and the citizen would be satisfied. I didn't go back and track that. So there's so many times that we're able to, again, at that level, speak with people one-on-one.
So I don't want to cause us to keep even more data than we already are tracking. I know that the number of items and incidents that we're keeping track of right now is enormous, and I think that's fantastic. It allows us to cite trends and whatnot. So if we don't have those numbers, I'm not suggesting we go out and start demanding that we keep them, but maybe some, this could be on the board to sort of reach out and ask each precinct, what are you seeing right now? Is it a normal level of citizen complaints, or are we down? Are we up? Are we on track?
Yeah, and we can do those things. And again, I'm not downplaying, but every time I walked into a Quick Trip, somebody may have had a great comment about a police officer or had some concerns about things going on in their neighborhood. Maybe the amount of time that they saw us, is that somebody complaining or just wants to see the police a little bit more? And obviously it was my job as a watch commander to make sure that we got into those neighborhoods. I just think that there's, it's something that we can definitely look into and have those conversations for sure.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So what I was bringing up here was the heat map for the failure to yields. As you can see, of the 892. So we have 229 and 226 respectively in the 1st and 8th precincts, so North County and Jennings, which makes up 51% of the total failures to yield on the year. Any questions regarding that or the failures to yield? Obviously, it's discouraging that the numbers continue to rise. If there's any consolation, the previous month was about 240. And this month was 178. So
You look at the heat map on the left, and as we've talked before, so nothing new, just the amount of those that occur at night. Right?
Absolutely.
So from 10 a.m., 10 p.m., sorry, to about 2 or 3 a.m., just incredible.
yeah, really is. So the patrol data, now that again, this is just for May. Throughout the Division of Patrol, they saw more radio assignments in May than they did in April by about plus 2,100. Self-initiated calls went up, or I'm sorry, decreased by about 500, which again, when you're answering more radio calls and there's less time to do self-initiated sort of thing. So that's not an outlier. And then the reports, we were about plus 100. So right in the same vicinity, 4,200, almost 4,300 this month and about 4,150 the previous month. Everything else is pretty much status quo across the board.
So teach us a little bit more, Lieutenant. So when you look at by precinct, right, reading across, not necessarily up and down, you see the miscellaneous arrests, for example, or the felony arrest, and you might see, for example, felony arrests have a little less than a third at North County, as an example. But then when you move over to say DWIs, proportionally, is there a way for us to look at the information and try to deduce out of it what's impacting that particular precinct more, right? Because we can read it, we can see the numbers, but then at least for me, the numbers at times get lost in all the numbers. And what's the real message, or what are you all gleaning out of those numbers?
Yeah. So, and we can break those down further when we're talking about felony arrest to what type of arrest that was.
Yeah, that's not really the question. I think it would be an intuitive question along the lines of North County has more violent crime than, say, City of Wildwood. I'm making that up, right? Or that we have a lot more clearing of situations in Fenton and City of Jennings than we do in South County. I'm just making those up, please.
Yeah, right.
Anybody
Sure.
watching, don't try to draw a conclusion. That's what I'm personally looking for, right? I see a whole bunch in there and I say, all right, some of them are intuitive, but some of them aren't quite as intuitive. How do you all use them to gauge what you need to do in each of the precincts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously these Division of Patrol numbers, I mean, the captains do a great job on their own just to know what's going on in their precincts. A lot of that time, they will reach out to my team who will delve into those numbers with them. But again, most of these guys and gals have done this for long enough to where I know that they get with their neighborhood policing units, the old term, the hotspot policing. They have more maps. I keep using the 2nd precinct as an example because that's where I came from, but we had 2 folks just in the 2nd precinct that used to put maps together for us on crime trends. What are we seeing? So they kind of break down those numbers a little bit more. I can look into it again further and talk to both Abby and Allie on what those precinct commanders are asking them for to break down the numbers a little bit more. And again, another thing.
It's not really about the numbers, so forgive me that I'm not.
I understand what you're saying. I'm misspeaking to you, but I understand where you're going with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yep. One more. This is a very basic question, but felony arrests, felony cleared, felony warrant apply. What do each of those numbers capture? So
felony arrest is the simple arrest itself, obviously. The felony crimes cleared. So we may have had a felony. It's anytime that the crime is cleared. So that number may be higher because we may have made this number of arrests, but then the previous month, we're actually clearing some of those felonies up from the previous month. Does that make sense? And then obviously the warrants applied for on a felony level.
Warrants applied for.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So there could be one incident that could be captured in multiple of these columns.
That's correct.
Got it.
Yep.
Thanks.
And to me, the most significant are the number of guns seized. It looks like what's 76 of the 91 guns seized are in North County and Jennings.
That's correct, sir. And I think last month was at 105, and we had almost the same ratio in those two precincts.
That's pretty significant.
All right, for our crimes against persons data, homicides down 31%. So our crimes against persons, guys and gals have investigated 24 to the year. There was a question asked by Commissioner Hassler last month about the assault intimidation. And as you can see, it actually climbed from, I think we were plus 24%. And now we're at plus 26%. When we look at the overall, so there's 6 categories that NIBRS has for assaults. You've got with the firearm, knife, dangerous weapon, hands, feet, fists, simple, other, intimidation. So when you add all of those up, I don't know why it's doing that. I apologize. So when you add all of those up, the difference in total assaults from 2021 to 2022 is only about 4%. That said, I had my team delve into the numbers of just assault intimidations and maybe why. So year to date, this is up to today. We ran the numbers again this morning. Of those, so 67 of those are intimate relationship type of domestic violence, intimidation, so threats being made. That falls in line with last year. It was 71 actually to 67. We had 129% increase, however, in family domestics, not intimate relationship, on assault intimidations. It went from 2021, we saw 24, and we're at 55 for the year there. So that's a large spike in and of itself. And the other one is between strangers. Threats between strangers have gone up 113% from 2021 to 2022. And the majority of those, so my team also looked at many of those reports, are online type threats, social media, things of that nature, which obviously we've seen a spike in as the years continue to go on. Absolutely. Here's the homicides. So this one's now a split screen. I used to just throw it on one, but I know it's a little bit smaller. On the left, as you're staring at it, is obviously the total as we just put up there for 2022. And then on the right is what happened in just the month of May. So 4 total homicides investigated by crimes against persons in May, bringing the overall total to 24. It says clearance rate right there on the left is 89%. That's actually up to 95% as recently as this morning when I talked to the crimes against persons guys.
Can you go back one just for, it's a question that's directional, not specific to this. When we receive notification of some of the activities that our officers are there to help with, it seems like in the last couple of weeks, there have been a few suicides. And I know that's not a crime that perhaps we would track, but are things like that where our officers are involved to a substantial degree tracked somewhere and reported somewhere so that somebody, it's not going to necessarily be our responsibility, somebody can understand that we've got a different kind of perhaps crisis that we're responding to, but isn't necessarily something we can do anything about. I don't know that that came out articulately, but it's just, boy, it just seems like we've had a rash of those in the last couple of weeks. And it seems like someone should be doing something to help in those situations.
Yeah. And I've never been in the unit. I can't fully speak, but I would assume CIT and you guys and crimes against persons.
We do track it, sir.
I know that we track the numbers. You're asking deeper, right?
Correct.
Right. So I know we track.
We have to look at
Okay, so it's just more of a more recent spike and and what do we as a department do with those numbers? We're tracking them. Do those get siphoned into social services group that does something? No, just kind of. All right. Thank you. That was the.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, as we move on to property, again, from last month, not much of a change as far as the percentages. The robberies with a firearm went up slightly. But other than that, our percentage change from last month hasn't fluctuated all that greatly. And then same thing with society. I didn't know if anybody had any specific questions regarding those, but if not, I'll go ahead and move on.
So it looks like narcotics violations have dropped. From 2020. It just sort of jumped off the page.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of that has to do with the lack of self-initiated activity. And again, it's not because, so you take, I think that when we break this down by precinct, again, the North County precinct would have more on a percentage scale, drug and narcotics violations than any other precinct. However, those guys, again, have per person, they have less self-initiated calls per person because they're answering more directed radio assignments. So we see a decrease in some of these things because the guys aren't being able, it's not because they don't want to, it's just they're not allowed to be as proactive as I explained last month because they're actually consistently answering radio calls. They clear an assignment, they're getting another assignment.
So forgive me for butting in here. My apologies. I stepped out with a coughing fit. The numbers for drugs and narcotics violations and even the drug equipment paraphernalia violations, it seems counterintuitive. We hear significantly about drug use being up, and yet ours are down 28 and 33% respectively. And you may have just had this conversation, so I apologize if you did, but that just seems counterintuitive. Is there something that?
So you're talking about drug use being up?
Yeah, and well, and that drug use being up and therefore violations being up, right? It seems like those would run hand in hand with each other. No?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think it's worth pointing out that the majority of these type of arrests or numbers are derived from our Bureau of Drug Enforcement. Remember that for the first month of the year, nearly all of January, because of the death of Detective Valentine in December, they were easing their way back in. So if you remember, in January, it was almost, we were 100% down because they weren't just deriving the numbers they are. They've actually been doing such a fantastic job that to get back to 28%, if they're closing the gap, but things like this take time. So I think a lot of it put us behind the 8 ball right off the bat.
Thank you.
Yep. And then calls for service. Every precinct in May was over their moving average on directed calls for service radio assignments, which again goes back to the lack of self-initiated activity. But many of the precincts still doing a great job and we're well over the moving average.
I'll note out, I was comparing sort of the trends, and there are several precincts that are trending up self-initiated and trending up directed. So kudos to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as it just gets into the summer months, it's just going to continue to get busier. We still throw this slide in there for you, but again, it's on repeat. Same calls are always going to, and then the TSR data. Again, I look at these every single month, and I'm a part of, as I told you, the traffic stop review committee. These are constantly in fluctuation but not massively, but when you look at percent minority stops per precinct, some may be up 1 month and then down and then up 1 month and down. So nothing massive that jumps off the page, especially for the committee. But obviously we look at each individual officer during those meetings as well. Any questions?
Thomasina, Richard? Okay. Thank you. I have one, it's a broader set of questions. It's not necessarily the answer now, it's to come back with, but it's the same counterintuitive piece. We hear crime's up, we hear across the country, right? Or perhaps our communities in broad context, but that's not what our numbers show. Right? Our numbers show that we're down pretty significantly. Wonderful job, but it does cause you to question why the inconsistencies between what we hear and see in other communities and what we're hearing and seeing here.
So I don't think the discrepancy is as big as we would think. So what I'm giving you every month is the disparity between 2021 and 2022. 2020 was such a low, right? 2021 peaked higher than anything that, so the gradual trend, and I'm just talking for us. I can't speak for some of the cities that you're talking about. And I know that you're saying that crime's up around the nation. But for us, we in 2021 were at nearly a 5-year high. The trend has had to go down. I don't know that we could continue to rise from that. You see what I'm saying?
I understand it. I appreciate the response. I don't, please take this the way I mean it. I don't know whether that's accurate or not, right? Because you hear about all these crime statistics up everywhere and you look at least for our communities that we represent, we serve, that it's down pretty significantly. That's a wonderful job, but it is counterintuitive, right? Everyone else is up and we're down. And so obviously it leads to the question, why?
Yeah.
So I expect more of that to come, Lieutenant, not just for you to answer, right? It's for all of us to think about as to why.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I wonder, Brian, if, well, both of you, if we look at a longer term trend, maybe that would be something interesting to look at in July, would be 5 or 8 or 10 years, where we fall with some of these. And I don't know if we have all the data to be able to do that.
It's super difficult because now we're talking about the difference between UCR statistics and NIBRS.
Okay.
So it's not going to give an accurate, depiction of, because the numbers are going to be so high one way. And
I apologize. I've probably given the suggestion 7 or 10 times, and I keep forgetting that we've changed our data.
oh, yep, that's all right.
I'll probably give it at least one more time. So I'll
That
apologize.
sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, we were talking this morning, as well as it seems like we're doing, we don't sit on the laurels of how well we are doing, because next month, those numbers could go crazy, But I will give this department credit for the work that they do. And as you can see with what Lieutenant Sheldon gives you, we track everything. We track everything. Those numbers show that our crime is now good for us. But again, we don't know what's going to be like next week. And Commissioner, you were talking about complaints from our citizens. It's outstanding that we see that we've had that few of complaints from our citizens out there, especially with the number of contacts that we have. When you talk about contacts with traffic, court security, all the people that we come in contact with, you see the numbers that we have. Body cameras may have some effect on that because, obviously if they're not telling the truth about what happened, they know that we're wearing body cameras. And then I give the officers credit for the work that they do as far as de-escalating situations where they don't have those complaints. And sometimes we'll get complaints, as the Lieutenant said, it's a complaint to them, but is it anything that we would track? So, like I said, he's in 7-Eleven. Somebody says something about the police department. It's nothing that we're going to track. But I get them every day. I get complaints every day because my email is out there just like theirs are. And they'll send that complaint to me. I'll forward it to BPS, ask them to look into it and see if they can come up with it. Sometimes it's nothing. They just want to vent. And they see the chief's name up there. So let me just vent to the chief. Okay. And it goes to them for investigation, but those numbers are tracked. Mr. Becker, you're up, sir.
Morning. Off drop. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Wellness unit.
So for the staffing report, our authorized commission remains at 969. We have 78 current vacancies. That's up 7 from last month. We have class 204 graduating on June 16th at Merritt's. You should get some information on that in the very near future. And there will be 7 municipal officers also graduating. Class 205 started April 25th. We have 5 county officers, 4 muni, and 1 open enrollment for a total of 10 in that class. Class 206 begins June 27th, and we expect to have about 16 total. And right now we have 6 county officers, and we have 4 up for final review tomorrow that would be potential recruits for that class. Good luck to them. And the professional staff vacancies are up 4 to 50, up 4 from last month. We did have a PSD Academy class graduate April 11 with 3 applicants. They were noteworthy because they were not young, they were experienced in the workforce, and all 3 were African American also. And the PSD Academy class number 14 starts June 13th, and it's a full class. We have 12 applicants. We have another PSD class starting on August 22nd that the backgrounds team is working on right now. So the vacancies with respect to professional staff, the 2 significant areas are 11 down in security services and 14 down in dispatch. So the good news is that we have that full academy class. They won't be ready until late this year or early next year to go on the floor, but we do have lateral applications significantly up because of the recently enacted CBA that recognizes their prior service. So that is a good thing. And whether or not those dispatchers need to go to the PSD Academy is up to the Bureau of Communications to decide. So they may be able to hit the floor. Some of them have prior county service, went to another agency. They should be relatively good to go. With respect to COVID, I don't know what we're doing right, but we have 0 out right now. We've always had a very low number. I know that it's spiked up nationally, but we're doing very well. We have 0 out right now. And currently 8 out on military separation. I always repeat myself in this presentation. We support reservists and, of course, those getting out of the military. We will welcome their application. For 2022, the average commission retirements and resignations is actually down 2 per month to 5.6 per month. The professional staff is up slightly to an average of 6.4 retirements and resignations per month. The applications for May of 22 we had 20 police officer applications. We have 8 in backgrounds right now. And the total hires for the year are 8 commissioned and 20 non-commissioned. And Chief, I only have 45 minutes for a recruiting presentation, correct? So I'll try to hit the highlights. Lieutenant Webb and his recruiters, with the help of the background investigators, are doing a great job. A lot of innovative efforts with respect to utilizing Facebook to target specifically zip code areas. So we've initially targeted the north and central areas. So when somebody goes on Facebook, they'll get an ad from the police department that we're hiring. We're going to target the south and west areas of the county, St. Charles, and then also Illinois. That is a paid service, but we anticipate that by the end of the year, we will have a end of year report to utilize or to analyze how effective the different advertising, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's traditional print media, whether it's traditional print media in ethnic areas, how successful that is. And we'll be able to hopefully target what has been a success and what is not. The recruiters right now, as we speak, are hitting, there's more of a traditional effort, but they're hitting various businesses and schools and so forth, literally putting up flyers, making contact with people as they go at gymnasiums and bus stops and other businesses and so forth, and getting out there and talking to people. Next week, Officer House, Recruiter House, will be at Camp Fury. It's a senior Girl Scout event. It's high school Girl Scouts that are interested in law enforcement and she will be interacting with those. That's more of a long-term recruiting plan, but it also could be a feeder for professional staff positions because you only have to be 18 to work here and to be a dispatcher. And lastly, we have an event on June 25th, noon at SLU High School, Ballin' in the Lou, City versus County. I understand that Richard Banks might be coming out of retirement to be the center for the team, but that's just a rumor, so. And that's all I have.
Questions? Sir, I have a couple. You identified two areas that were a little more critical: security services and dispatch. It sounded like with the June class for dispatch, it's good to have 12 there. What are we doing around security services from a recruiting standpoint? I was talking with Captain Morgan last week and maybe a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned how critical it is.
And so the main reason that we're losing security is that they're getting promoted. They're moving on. That's the good news. With respect to recruiting, when the recruiters are heading for commission, they're also, when they're handing out the flyers, when they're going to events with respect to security, they're also targeting security. They're hitting, all the traditional recruiting type things like going to the military installations and so forth. The people are getting out of service and that target. And then Lieutenant Webb and Captain Morgan are working to hasn't been finalized yet, but working toward utilizing the current security officers as a tool to recruit also.
Thank you.
So you said that there were 7 more vacancies?
For security?
No, not for security. You said 7 more vacancies at the very beginning.
Yes, ma'am. 7 additional vacancies from last month, from my previous report,
So
correct.
Any background to that?
Just 7 folks that have retired or resigned.
So the 7 would include retirees.
Correct.
How many do you know?
I think it was 3 and 4 resigned.
Thank you.
Anything else?
One very tactical question, apologies. So if we added the numbers up for this June's class, starting later this month, maximum we're going to have is 10. I think we had 6 already and
Correct.
4 in background. So the maximum we would have is 10.
Correct.
Thank you.
Just a couple more notes. I just want to advise you that tomorrow I have a meeting along with Chief Fagan and Chief Hall in reference to the Hazelwood School District. They brought up the concerns about SROs again. So we're meeting with them tomorrow. We had a committee of the whole meeting yesterday in reference to the maternity leave that has been proposed. Police department personnel and the jail were required to give their report as to how it was going to affect us, along with the fact that we all feel like it's a great thing for our employees to get that maternity leave, but also there are a lot of negative effects because of personnel that we have. And at the end of the meeting, Councilman Fitch said that, there'll be further discussions about the bill, but he's looking to push this by the first of the year. So we'll take that in consideration when we start talking about the budget next year. And
Chief, is this
yes.
maternity only or maternity and paternity?
Is it?
It's parental leave, men and women.
Right. Yes. And during the week, we had a very significant arrest that was coordinated by Crimes Against Persons and Intelligence. They got 2 bad young guys off the street that were committing a bunch of crimes, and they finally got them into custody. So that was significant work on their part. So that's all I have as far as the chief's report, sir.
Well done, you guys. Very well done. Very good. Commissioner Hassler, I think the CMPA Board of Managers was something that you asked for last month to.
Yes, I did.
Is there anything in particular that you wanted to discuss with that topic?
So I guess just need some feedback on the Board of Managers in terms of the last meeting was canceled. Where are we in terms of the next meeting? Where are we in terms of the mentoring program? I'm concerned, I think, because we meet so seldom, number one. Number two, there wasn't any feedback or follow-up about why the meeting was canceled and when we'll have another one, because I thought that the issue about mentoring was one that that the desire was to implement it right away, at least by fall. So I wanted to hear back from whoever, Carl, from you or Captain Sheldon.
And so next month, they normally take a hiatus in August. And with respect to the mentoring program, that's Lieutenant Roach's bailiwick.
Can you come up to the microphone?
With respect to the mentoring program, that's Lieutenant Roach's bailiwick. And the plan for that was to implement it in January because we have to get people trained for that.
Okay, so I guess that I'm not feeling like I'm getting enough feedback.
Okay,
You know, because the meeting was canceled that morning. At least that was when I got the notice.
Right.
I think you're talking about two separate things. We're talking about our mentoring program, talking about one implemented on behalf of the entire academy board of managers.
I'm not talking about our.
Chief Lewis's initiative.
Right.
There's two different pieces of that, right?
Right. And so obviously the municipalities are going to have to take care of their mentoring aspect, whoever they have there. We'll figure out what we're going to do with the open enrollments. Our officers, then Lieutenant Roach is working on that. And as Deputy Chief said, it's in conjunction with Chief Lewis, whom you've met, is also on the Board of Managers. With respect to the meeting being canceled or postponed, that was because at the last minute, several chiefs couldn't make it. We really didn't have a quorum, so we'll reset that date then.
That's fine. I guess I'm still feeling that there's not enough information between meetings. Understand what I'm saying? I'm saying, you know, if a meeting is every quarter, what's going on in between? Nothing?
Well, it's generally more frequently than that, but we can.
Last meeting, I've been to two. The first one was to be introduced. The second one was whenever that was, in February, I believe.
Thought it was April, but yeah.
Yeah, it was not April because we had at least a 2 or 2.5 month break between them. And if in fact the St. Louis County is my question is this just in name only? Is this just in name only that the county is the chair, right? So if you're the chair of a committee, I would think that there would be more opportunity to meet in between to find out what's next on the agenda, what should be there, what's going on in between time.
We can certainly set more meetings, and I think.
And I'm not saying that I don't need more meetings. I'm not talking about more meetings. I mean, for example, this meeting is preparation for this meeting. We meet monthly, but we're putting agenda items on maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. I'm not getting communication, and I don't want to just show up and look like a dumbbell because I don't know what's going on.
Well, I don't think you ever would, but I think we can make a more concerted effort to keep you informed. But the reason that there's nothing there is, in my opinion, the academy is very well run. It has a lot of experienced people, starting with Captain Kelly, this is his third tour there, and a lot of good instructors and so forth. So.
And I'm not complaining about the academy itself or its operation. That's not the issue. The issue is the Board of Managers itself and its purpose. Its purpose.
Yes, ma'am. And I think the reason you haven't been receiving any information is there's no new news. But we can certainly prod a little more if there's something that Captain Kelly and his staff think are important for the board to know, then we'll pass that on.
Can I make a suggestion? Commissioner Hassler, your message has been received, right? There's a breakdown in information flow and a breakdown in communication. May I suggest that you and Captain Kelly, excuse me, still working on the cough drops, and Mr. Becker go offline to have the conversation on what needs to improve, and maybe that would be a follow-up item in a month or two to make sure that we have the systems and processes in place to address that issue. All right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Chief, I think you have everything on the agenda you have touched on. Yes, sir? Good. Our next agenda item is the approval of minutes from our 3 meetings in May 11, May 13, and May 27. I will suggest that we approve those in mass, since the notes are all collectively together. May we have a motion to approve the minutes from May 11, May 13, and May 27 Board of Directors meetings? Thank you. Then I will second. Well done. Thank you. All in favor of approval of the minutes from May 11, 13, and 27, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And if I didn't say aye because I was coughing, aye. Any letters and or communication? Any incoming communications? Any outgoing communications? Very good. Moving on to old business. Anything else that we haven't addressed that is old business related? All right. New business. We have 14 contracts, 14 agreements. They are all with the County and Municipal Police Academy, the CMPA. So we will not say that in each time we read these. They are all professional service agreements. So we will not read that at each one of the 14. And they are all new contracts. So we'll not read that through all 14. I will suggest, for sake of ease, that we'll do them in 7 and 7. That's all right, just so we can keep track of them. The first one contract is with Patrick Corinne. It is for an instructor to teach a program entitled First Line Supervision on December 12th through the 16th, 2022, at a cost not to exceed $1,600. The second, also with Patrick Corinne, for an instructor to teach a program entitled Instructor Development on November 14th through the 18th, 2022, at a cost not to exceed $1,600. The third is also a contract with Patrick Corinne for an instructor to teach a program entitled Curriculum Development on October 7th, 2022, at a cost not to exceed $200. We have a contract with Vista Law Enforcement Training and Consulting LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Advanced Homicide Investigations for Death Investigators on November 1st through 4th, 2022, at a cost not to exceed $3,200. We have a recommendation for a contract with Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Advanced Search and Seizure on September 30th, 2022, at a cost not to exceed $3,200. Proposed contract also with Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Criminal Investigation Techniques on October 3rd, 4th, 2022, at a cost not to exceed $94,950. And the last of these first 7 is a contract proposal also with Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Early Intervention Program on October 13th, 2022, at a cost not to exceed $3,200. Did I? Which one? Did I say $4,950 for the, okay, for the criminal investigation techniques? Thank you. Thank you for catching that, Thomasine.
I move that we approve.
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve these contracts.
Second. All in favor of approving these contracts?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The second 7, we will read together and do that together. You will see that they are all with Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC, but we will state that just for clarity. The first is with Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Ethics for the 21st Century on October 14th, 2022, at a cost not to exceed $3,250. We have a proposed contract for Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Knock and Talk Investigations on October 24th, 2022 at a cost not to exceed $33,250. Another contract with Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Law Enforcement Leadership Development on November 7th, 2022 at a cost not to exceed $3,250. A contract with Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Mexican Drug Cartel Investigations on September 13th and 14th, 2022 at a cost not to exceed $4,950. Contract with Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Police and Minority Relations on October 31st, 2022 at a cost not to exceed $3,250. Contract with Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Surviving Off-Duty Encounters on November 11th, 2022 at a cost not to exceed $3,250. And lastly, a contract with Professional Law Enforcement Training LLC for an instructor to teach a program entitled Tactical De-Escalation Techniques on November 1st, 2022 at a cost not to exceed $3,250.
I move that we approve these contracts.
I do have questions on two of them, please, before we approve. The first one is the law enforcement leadership development open to people outside of the police department? Might be one that I personally would like to attend. Is that something that we can work through and do? Thank you. And the second one is the one about Mexican drug cartel investigations. I think my question would be the relevancy or not here in St. Louis for investigating Mexican drug cartels.
Drug cartel nationwide. Right force deals.
From an investigatory standpoint, not just a responding standpoint. Okay, thank you. Because I was thinking, of course, we respond to them, but actually investigating them seemed like it would be an organization or a set of organizations bigger, broader than just St. Louis County. All right, thank you. Thank you. We have a second. All in favor of approving these 7 contracts? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Those are approved. All 14 were approved. Thank you very much. Lieutenant Sheldon, I think you're back up to walk us through the general order recommendations.
All right, we've got 2 pieces of policy today. General Order 2278, Information Technology Operations, Accountability, and Security. Just a quick dissertation on some of the changes to this. Several sections added to this policy to include the definition section, as you could see, security, tech support, as well as numerous usage restrictions. And as always, these drafts were provided to both the FOP, Diversity and Inclusion, Ethical Society of Police, and the County Councilor prior to submission to Executive Command Staff, the Chief, and then ultimately the Board. Any questions regarding 2278?
So I had 2, if you don't mind. It is an existing general order that we're only amending, correct?
That's correct.
And so the intent of the amendments is to get at what, right? So we see them, we read them. What are we really trying to accomplish through those?
And I can tell you the good thing about this order, as we do with a lot, when you talk about subject matter experts, I mean, my folks sat down exclusively with the IT folks, and the crux of most of this is to further outline those restrictions on what employees can and cannot do. So everything, as you know, that's in bold, which nearly this entire order is all new language. So it's long
language, brand new language.
That's correct.
Which is why the question about is it new or not?
Yes. Yep. So as you can see, there's minimal portions that were kept, but most of it was changed.
So I'll ask the next question. It is directionally intentional. There's a very specific things on do's and don'ts, which makes absolute sense in a technology piece. There are also the general judgment, common sense, although that word gets thrown around a lot, right? Just using judgment in some of this stuff, because there's no way we can keep current with the general order as fast as technology and issues change. if we do, I missed it, so I'll apologize for that. We have that standard language in here. Do we have language that would say, if it's a new situation, ask before you leap, right? So we used to open up emails and just say, sure, open it up, and suddenly we have a virus. That was occurring before we get a general order or in other businesses a policy out. That's the intent I'm trying to get at.
Yes, so I don't know if it's specifically stated in here, but as you would say that several verbiage to exclude that. I don't know if Holgren's still in here or not.
I'm
Yeah,
in
'cause
favor of
again,
it. It's just one of those where
yeah.
we can't move fast enough to have every do and don't in here. So if we can
Right.
build some language in moving forward that gets into.
Yes, and the good thing is, as you know, we review each one. My bureau reviews every general order every year, just to see what updates. This one is one, as you said, that could change quite often now. So every year we will reconvene and go back over those.
Thank you.
So it says cancels general order 0778. It's really not canceling it though. Is it? I mean, you said it was amending.
Yeah, but it's still canceling that order. So that order is now dead. So 2278 is now, once the signature goes on it, will be policy.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
See it on this other page.
Yes, ma'am. And all of the policies would read the exact same on what order is now being canceled.
Right, okay. I just see it at the top. It wasn't on the top of the first.
Yes, ma'am. All right, and then the second one is the 2268 Public Information and News Media Policy. Revisions in this order made to include a new definition clarifying and adding citizen journalist to the term media, which will satisfy a Teneo recommendation. The digital media specialist position was added and the email addresses were updated inside of the policy. So as you can see, if you page through this, not as near as much bold, a lot being kept the same, but several changes as well. Any questions regarding this policy?
Quick question, under section 5C1, it talks about the Public Information Office's responsibilities. And it talks about direct and indirect contact with news media.
Mhm.
What is indirect contact?
So often, especially nowadays, and so back in 2016, we started to get a hold on social media. So a lot of that is through social media. So Vera, who does a great job, obviously pushes so many things through social media so we're not directly contacting the media. We post something on our page, but then the media takes that and uses it on channels 2, 4, 5, things of that nature. So indirectly, we are still communicating.
I see, thank you.
So I remember the recommendation for Teneo around a citizen journalist, but I don't know what that is.
A citizen journalist is anybody who says that they're a journalist, according to Teneo. So we saw this as a former PIO for the department. I became the PIO in 2013. I didn't know what a citizen journalist was. As of August 9th of 2014, obviously after Michael Brown was killed by Darren Wilson in Ferguson, I quickly realized that a citizen journalist, which we really struggled with at that time, is anybody who says that they are, because there's so many bloggers and things of that nature out there now. So we never excluded those folks, but we tried to set up a system to where you had to have some type of media credential, right, in order to, at this point, get into press conferences and such. But I think that, as like Vera can attest, we are open to anybody now. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the most part, we do like to do some vetting to say, hey, what you're following. One of the good examples is Real-Time Group. Yellow contacted us. They contacted, we would not consider them a nation, but a group of citizen journalists, and they contacted us and very appropriately wanted to know how they could receive information from us. They have an audience that we wouldn't be able to otherwise reach. It's the same thing with our relationships with people like Dirk Brown, who goes live, who is very open to it. We call and say, hey, you need to correct this or that. He does that very quickly. And so when we have larger incidents, it was important for us to recognize that because someone was not wearing
a press badge, that it did not exclude them from either A, the information that we were giving out, or B, the access that we were given to what a traditional journal.
Thank you, Vera. I think between the two of you answered my question, which is anybody could be a citizen journalist, but not everybody has the opportunity to do that if they don't have a following. In other words, we have criteria around what is, without having it articulated, there is some public criteria around what a citizen journalist is.
Case by case.
Still, okay. Thank you.
I was going to say exactly what she said, but I wanted her to have the opportunity.
Yeah. Well said. Anything else?
No.
Any other questions? All right, shall we approve these separately? Let us start with General Order 22-078, which is the Information Technology Operations Accountability and Security Policy. We have a
I
motion.
move that we approve this general order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? General Order 22-078 is approved. General Order 22-068, which is Public Information and News Media Policy. May we have a motion to approve that?
Move that we approve this, general order.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving General Order 22068, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have approval for General Order 22-068. Congratulations. Thank you. You and your team.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have anything from the public? Very good. With that, then we will look for a motion to hold a closed meeting. The Board of Police Commissioners may vote to go into closed meeting for legal advice and review of claims and lawsuits involving the police department. Section 610.0211 RSMO and sections 114.0201 SLCRO. Discussions of employee and personnel matters, section 610.0213 and 13 RSMO section and sections 114.0203 and 13 SLCRO, and discussions on negotiations with an employee group, section 610.0219 RSMO and sections 114.0209 SLCRO. May we have an motion?
I move that we go into closed session.
Do we have a second? May we take a roll call, please?
Commissioner Ashworth,
Yes.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Commissioner Hassler,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwerin.
Yes.
We are in closed session. Thank you all. We are back from closed session. We had one vote in closed session, and that was a roll call motion to return to open session, and it was unanimous to return to open session. There were no other votes in our closed session. Anything else before we adjourn?
None for me.
Just a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Amy? Yes.
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 We are adjourned. Shoot. Next meeting, July 13th.